everybody. Welcome to Slogan's Rock and Metal Extravaganza. We're here today to just, I guess, honor the memory of Brian Sarvela. We played their music for one of our State-to-State Obscurities first listens from the state of Vermont. These guys are actually technically, they're all from Boston, but said the band formed in Vermont. That's the information that was out there on the internet. Maybe they'll actually come on here and correct that for me, because I don't know how accurate internet is these days. Going to start off with reminding people of one of the songs we played, and Brian Sarvela was his band. He unfortunately passed away in 2014, and he was the lead singer. So this was his band. This came out in '93. So this is from their cassette tape from '93, from their demo in '93. So yeah, Heartbroken Heroes is the song. So yeah, just to remind you with this song that we played. Yeah, I don't know. People are saying the sound was messed up. Hold on. Yeah, people are saying sound was messed up on this. Let's get rid of these. All right. Settings, audio. All right, so joining us is Brian's good friend Cody and his original bandmates, Matt, Jamie, and Doug.
Yeah, how's it going?
Yeah,
How's it
sorry
going?
if the sound was messed up. I don't. Yeah, I have a new setup, so it's kind of unfortunately, I don't know how bad it was. It's like it sounded fine on my end, but I don't know how it was coming out for you guys. It was cutting in and out, but yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. The audio was all that was 93. That's when that came out. So yeah, welcoming here Cody, Matt, Doug, and Jamie.
Okay.
So you guys want to just Matt, Jamie, and Doug tell how you met Brian and got together and formed the band?
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, I knew Brian first. You know, we've known each other really since high school, and we were in different bands around our little towns that we lived in. His was town next to mine, and some of it's a little fuzzy. It's been so many years, but we eventually, joined forces and started. The band was originally called Risque before it was called Sarvela, and then we found out that there was a band in Europe called Risque, and they'd already put out an album and stuff. So Brian naturally suggested, let's call it Sarvela, because that's so Brian, So I said, yeah, that's cool. Worked with Van Halen, it worked for Bon Jovi, it's worked for others. So anyway, that's how the name came up. And then we had some other people in the band over the first years, and we were looking for a new drummer. And so Jamie came on first. We were I would go out to clubs and just I would watch drummers and other bands. So Jamie, I forget what club it was I saw you at with that old band, but it was Jamie, this slender dude with this band full of all really husky dudes in the band. So the running joke was we used to call that the fat band because Jamie was the one skinny guy in the fat band. So anyway, I went up to him after he kicked ass, and I went up to him after his set and said, yeah, we come check out our stuff. And I basically poached him out of that old band. And Jamie and Matt were roommates in college, right? They went to different colleges, but they were roommates. And I remember this story. Matt's dad played bass in a cover band, right, Matt? And so he had a bass rig.
Yeah. So from what I remember, you had a bass player, and Brian sent him packing right before a gig. And Jamie and I were going to college together, and Jamie called me when I was sitting in the apartment. He's like, "Hey Matt, Brian just kicked our bass player out, and we got a show in 3 days. Can you score a bass and do them because we don't want to cancel?"
Yeah.
So my father had just, my father was a bass player when he was in high school. He played a lot of gigs, and he had just bought an electric bass and a rig. So I called down to Connecticut and said, "Dad, can I borrow your rig? I got this chance to play with some cool dudes." And he said, "Sure." So I drove down to Connecticut, brought the bass rig up. He never got it back. I still have it. It's in my house right now.
Yep, never got it back.
Right.
Yeah, because the idea was that Matt would help us out, so we could continue to play gigs and audition bass players. That was sort of the idea, because Matt's a guitar player by at least back in those days, your guitar was your first thing, and. Yeah, so we just kept playing gigs, and it just kept getting tighter and tighter. And Jamie and Matt were getting super tight as a rhythm section, and the band was. So after a while, Jamie and Brian and I were just like, well, "This Matt's the guy. Why not just make it official? It rocks. He likes doing it." So that's where the final group came together, was through that process. But we used to do Jamie, remember the time we had this guitar or bass player come down. He came with some fluff, he was in some band, was supposed to be great or whatever. And so Jamie and Brian and I decided to have fun with the guy, because Jamie can play guitar a little bit, and Brian could play drums a little bit.
Okay.
And I can do at least then I could do heavy metal screams and stuff. So we decided to switch instruments just to mess with this guy when he came in. So he comes in with this, but I don't even remember what we played, but it was we just start going into this, I think we just made something up pretty much. And it was just it was so hack and bad and funny. And I'm trying not to just burst out laughing. And I see the guy, he's got a buddy. I see him kind of going looking over, giving his buddy the stink side eye. And we held it together for a couple minutes, and then we just burst out laughing. The guy didn't end up joining our band. No, but yeah. So it's pretty cool.
I had completely forgotten about that.
Oh yeah, That's one of our great little razzes we did.
But yeah, maybe just I'll fill in the blanks a little bit. So I had found the bass player before Matt at a college across town in Boston, and he was from upstate New York, and the gig in question was Christmas weekend, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it was a big deal because we had a lot of friends that were away a lot of the time, but everybody was going to be home and everyone was going to come to this show in Providence that was, I don't know, a day or 2 days after Christmas. And I think what wound up happening was, I think Jay was living with you guys at the time, Doug, and I think he packed up.
He stayed with us for a while, yeah.
But he didn't just pack up his clothes; he packed up everything, and that's how we knew he wasn't coming back. And
it all went sideways one night, and he went home and got his stuff, and we were still all at the practice room, and he just split.
Yeah, but like you mentioned, we had that coming up, and we also had a number of really good shows lined up. I think even for the month afterwards, it was like our first opportunity to play at the Channel, and and some other stuff. And it was like, to your point, we had momentum that we didn't want to lose, because the tape had just been finished. That was getting airplay, because I don't know how it is now, but at that time you could get on some of the late night local band shows that were typically on weekends, and they would not only promote the bands, but they'd promote the shows, and that helped a lot. And we didn't want to lose that momentum, to Doug's point.
Yeah.
I forgot about that Channel show. That one was great, because that was the second of the 2 shows that I did after I joined the band. And the first one we pretty much rehearsed once, and then we went and did the first show. And then when we played the Channel, we did the songs, and I had really only rehearsed maybe 10 songs, 8-10 songs. I don't remember what we did. We played them all in the first set at the Channel, and it went so well. We had a great response that the owner came up to Brian. He's like, "You guys were great. Would you do a second set in the back room?" Because at the time the Channel had the main stage and then a back room stage. And of course, Brian being Brian, he was like, "Yeah, absolutely. We'll do it. So he comes out and tells the 3 of us who, we never got a vote. It was Brian's way or the highway. So, Brian said, "Hey, we're doing another set." And I said, "We just played every song I know. We haven't rehearsed anything else."
I think we played at 10 o'clock and then midnight.
I was staring at Doug's hands the entire time.
I was all for it too, because that was so fun, and little room was just packed full of people. It was. I was
awesome. Petrified though.
Was it all? We must have done some of the same songs.
I think we only did 2 of the same songs. I think other than that, we jammed a couple. We did a couple of the originals that we hadn't really done, but I had heard, because Jamie always was playing them in the apartment. So I had heard them. I had just never played them. But yeah, we definitely winged it. But what a great night that was. I still remember that Channel show. All the way to now, I remember that show. That was great.
I forgot that it was such a trial by fire for Matt, though. Just throwing him to the wolves. We're doing a second set. Fuck up, little camper. We got to play now.
Good luck, everybody.
Yeah.
Any I guess big bands that you remember opening for, or is there anybody that you can just name drop that you opened for?
Well, another Channel gig we did that was we opened for the LA band Lizzie Borden.
Oh wow, okay.
It was a killer show. That club in Boston.
I'm gonna have to correct you on that one, Doug.
You are? Am I wrong?
Yes, I am. That was Salisbury Beach.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Yep.
Oh, that's okay. We did Lizzie Borden. We did King's X.
King's X. That's right. Wow. Yeah, we opened for King's X.
And I'm trying to think of who else, but those were always the 2 that I brag about.
Okay.
Nice. I think we may have done one in Boston, but I think most of our big opens were up towards New Hampshire and on the beach.
Okay. Yeah. See, how accurate is that Vermont thing? Because it says you guys are based out of Vermont. That's what it said online. So I don't know how accurate that is. If you guys just relocated there, or...
So Brian moved to Vermont after the band broke up. Brian and I were living in Maynard together. Doug was in Acton. I forget where Jamie had settled. And then when we all went our separate ways, Brian moved up to Vermont with his then wife, if I remember right.
Okay.
And he put a new lineup of the band together up there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think they lasted long.
The current the iteration of the band that was us was never Vermont. We were Massachusetts.
Okay. You guys are
Mostly Boston.
And then I relocated to Rhode Island, which is where I'm from originally, but I started in Boston just because that's where I went to college. Matt's originally from Connecticut. And, again, we attended school together in Boston. So that's kind of how that all worked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Cody, how did you meet Brian?
So I grew up around Brian. My mom and Brian were best friends.
Okay.
So I grew up around Doug, Brian, Matt, Jamie. They were all the uncles that are the band members.
Okay.
And that's how I met everybody. Over the years, just staying in touch after he died is just kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah, it's cool that you guys all stayed in touch and remained friends, right? There's so many bands out there, you think these guys all hate each other and you'll never see them talk to each other ever again. And I
don't think we got a chance to get to the hate each other portion.
Yeah, right. It's tough. It's
tough to get a little
drama with Doug.
Yeah. You have to get some success before you start, cheering.
Yeah. But I don't even
remember one conversation where Brian had all of us about the split of all the money that we would make. And it was he decided that he would get 50% and I would get 25%, and Matt and Jamie would each get 12.5% for some reason. I don't know how he came to those figures, but I remember us having this conversation. We hadn't made any money. We're not signed, nothing, but yet we're divvying up, It was funny.
Our share of zero.
Yeah.
I mean, we tried. I mean, to give some perspective for anyone that maybe didn't grow up at this time. So, I joined the band in the fall of '91, and that is the same time frame that grunge first came out. So, Nevermind from Nirvana, 10 from Pearl Jam, they come out in the fall of '91. At least if that's how I remember it. And
more or less,
it took about 2 to 3 years, but from that moment on, you had this shift where grunge and a lot of the dark stuff, and dare I say, people that couldn't play their instruments, that started to rise, and anything that sounded like from the 80s became less of interest. So Brian and I had record meetings in both New York and Los Angeles as late as may have been 94, definitely 93, possibly as late as 94. Met with, at least a half a dozen record executives that would listen to our stuff in their office and say, if you had come to us 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, we would have signed you in a heartbeat. But that's not the direction we're going anymore. And that's, what, ultimately, became the problem for us. And, we tried, Doug, you can speak to this because you wrote a lot of the material, but, there was an attempt to try and kind of shift the writing a little bit to fit in. But to me, it just wasn't our passion. It wasn't what we wanted to do. It wasn't how we started. It wasn't what we wanted to be signed for, and it didn't work. Ultimately, it just wasn't, it wasn't in our DNA to play that stuff.
Yeah. I thought we came up with some pretty cool songs, but Jamie's right. It wasn't our thing that we were passionate about, that came naturally out of us, and ultimately it's not going to be, it's not going to be real in the end.
Yeah. And instead of writing like what just like kind of was, felt like we wanted to play, it was, let's write something that sounds like this, or let's write something that these record producers are going to like, or, taps into this audience. And, I think, a lot of bands like us at that time faced that challenge. If we were, mid to late 80s, completely different story.
Yeah.
There's tons of bands out there that some of them hate their own songs because they're playing music they don't even like, yet it's a hit and that's all everyone talks about, and they don't even like the song. And it's you can end up going in that direction, right? Where you're just writing music to be popular. I mean, I get it. It's a business. You want to try to make money, but it's, at the end of the day, you still want to make music that you enjoy doing. Right? You don't want to just go through the motions and play what's going to get played on the radio, right? And you don't even like the music that you're playing, right?
Yeah,
Kind of takes the fun out of it at that point.
Right.
It does, and it comes through to the fans too. They can tell when the music you're playing is not genuine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that was a bummer is, with Sarvela, we had the four of us, and we were all really good friends. And if there wasn't a band, we still would have been hanging out. We still would have been tearing up the town. After Sarvela broke up, Brian and I did a band, Dogwood, and we were kind of it was a rock version of a grunge type of sound. We wrote some great songs. Like the songs were outstanding, but the band members just didn't fit. Like I was playing rhythm guitar. We had a bass player and a lead guitar player that kind of didn't gel with the rest of us and me and Brian. And, all the good songs in the world didn't save that band because we just couldn't make it work personality wise. Like we just didn't enjoy being around each other.
Well, that always helps. Yeah.
So that's, Sarvela was unique that we were all going in the exact same direction. It was awesome.
Yeah, totally.
Do you want to share any, I guess, funny stories? They could be G-rated. They don't have to be, but any funny stories about Brian or anything?
Well, Matt, just caught my attention when you talked about us hanging out. Matt, I don't know if this was possibly before you joined the band, but I can remember at least some of us, for anybody that's seen Wayne's World, us going to see Wayne's World in the theater. Doug, do you remember that?
I think I do. Yeah.
I think we were just in this little movie theater in Maynard, but it was like their characters in that movie, and I think this was 1992, were the epitome of what, how we were, what we thought, was cool at the time. And that movie almost kind of felt like it was written for us. And I remember us just going in there having a blast, because there wasn't a lot out there for us at the time.
Right.
The one that I always remember is Jamie's last show. We were playing a show. I want to say it's in Rhode Island, but I could be wrong. But it was Jamie's last show, and Brian, we're on our second to last song, and Brian disappears, and he comes back out, and he's in his underwear, and he says, "I swore to Jamie when he joined that if he joined the band, I would play a show in my underwear." And now it's his last show, so that's what I'm doing. So Brian's doing a song. I think we did "What Would You Do for Money" as an encore, and he's doing it in his underwear. Yeah. And then Doug, mid-song, Doug just pulls his pants down around his ankles, and he's dancing around like he has pants around his ankles. So he's almost on the verge of toppling over because his pants are around his ankles. Brian's chasing me around trying to pull my pants down, but I couldn't remember if I put underwear on, so I wasn't going to let him get anywhere near me. So I'm running from him at full speed.
I wasn't
hiding behind the drums.
That's two things now that I had completely tried to block.
Oh my God, I had fully forgotten about that one. That's true. Dude went off, stripped to his underwear, and came back up and played a song. Oh man,
I think I felt
I joined in too, so that's extra funny.
That's funny. You got some Nicole Burke, who is a friend of the band.
Now, Nicole's my long-term girlfriend.
Okay.
And she was at the time was working for Musician Magazine. She was documenting a lot of the local shows with some of her friends, and she was taking pictures of our band at that night and a lot of other nights.
Cool. Yeah, she says she has those photos somewhere.
Yep.
Oh boy.
I'm sure she does.
That's funny. Someone asked earlier.
Ask her to please share those if she finds them. That's hilarious.
Somebody asked what studio you guys recorded that in.
The name of the studio was Barking Spider.
Okay.
And I don't remember exactly where it was. It might have been, was it Sudbury?
That sounds right. It sounds right. It was pretty close to our Brian and my towns there.
Yeah. I mean, that was really, really neat experience. And we documented a lot of that experience in the studio, from recording the tracks to mixing. And I think they even had an apartment above the studio. I lived there for the week. It was just like
they did. Yeah, it was an apartment / kind of deal.
Yeah, it was really, really good. But where I'll give Brian a ton of credit, because this isn't something that he was trained on professionally. But I think when we had finished all the basic tracks and we were trying to mix it, we really weren't happy with the initial result, and when we had walked away. So Brian essentially negotiated his way back in to remix everything, and he sat down in the chair and he just started pushing buttons and moving levers around till he got the sound that he wanted, because I think it was a challenge for him to be able to communicate to the sound engineer kind of this vision of what he wanted the material to sound like. So he just went and did it himself. So what you played initially, even though we had some challenges, I think, with the quality of the audio, if there's a way to play it again, or at least make it available for folks online after the fact, that entire project was pretty much mixed by Brian without even knowing how to mix.
Wow. Okay. That's wow. So he just figured it out himself, basically.
He was very very good at thinking on his feet. Whenever a tough conversation or any kind of a conflict came in, Brian wasn't afraid of anybody. And I don't mean that, from an aggression perspective. It was just, he was not intimidated by any situation. He would call anybody. He would knock on anyone's door to have a conversation to achieve what we wanted. He could negotiate really well. And I think it's just kind of how he was wired. And I really appreciated that about him, because my role outside of playing is I would typically be, guys correct me if I'm overstating, but I was very often kind of the business person. So I would be the one that would make most of the phone calls to try to land, the shows, or, print flyers or whatever it was, but if I hit a wall somewhere, I would just turn to Brian and, he'd solve it.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely accurate.
So you guys have what's your main influences musically, like guitar players or drummers and bass players? And even Brian, do you know what some of his favorite singers were, and bands that you were inspired by?
Yeah, well, I know Brian liked all the real hot, Jeff Tate, Michael Sweet, all the high level, like singers, like high vocal range type singers, because that was his vocal range as well. So they're all saying, as far as for me, Randy Rhoads is the first player that got me interested in picking up a guitar, and then I was I was 14-year-old in 82. And so I got into all the 80s bands and, all the, Rat and Dokken, Warren DeMartini and George Lynch and all these, Vivian Campbell, Dio. And those are my early influences. And then Steve Vai came along a little bit after that. And now it's pretty much everybody.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about mine, but I'm going to kind of split with Matt a little bit here, where, Matt, so we went to Northeastern University. Matt is an engineering major. I started in engineering. I was a finance major, and that's pretty much what I do for a living now. But we were kind of unique in that, of all of the kids that were there that were listening to whatever, Matt and I very early on became friends based on, I think, the connection we discovered in music. And Doug, you mentioned Steve Vai. I can remember, Matt, you and I playing Passion and Warfare like every day for a couple of months and pissing off someone else who lived with us who was not as much of a fan. But it was kind of cool to be like, the metalheads or the rock guys that were going to school to get degrees.
Yeah. That's really cool.
But for me, at that time, I was not only playing and practicing, but I was also taking lessons. And my drum teacher at the time was Mike Mangini, who went on to become, quite famous in his own right with Steve Vai, eventually Dream Theater for years. But before any of that, he was teaching lessons in Boston. And I studied under him for probably 4 years. So, my biggest influences probably came first and foremost from him as a teacher.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. He used to come to our rehearsals on occasion too.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, and I took lessons. He was offering rhythm lessons to non-drummers, so I took some lessons with him too, just learning rhythm, counting rhythm, and the sort of Mike Mangini thinking of not quite double, and some of his approaches to just thinking rhythm from a non-drummer point of view. Yeah, he was great. He still is great, of course, but he was, and he also played with Extreme. So my three favorite bands, Extreme, Dream Theater, and Steve Vai, Mike Mangini's been in all of them.
Oh, there you go.
You know, the trifecta of awesomeness.
Yeah.
How about you, Matt?
What about you?
So I definitely had kind of unique influences because coming out of high school, I was in jazz bands, playing not a bass, playing saxophone in jazz bands and blues bands. So I got a lot of playing where I was just used to playing by ear and improvising, which I guess helped when I joined the band and I didn't have much time to practice. But I think, if you looked at my record collection where Jamie and I, when we were living together, we had a wall of it, it had to be at least 300 CDs. And I would bet you 80% of them were 80s rock, rock bands. And we would play all 300 of them at full volume. And I loved them all. But
nice.
So it's kind of tough to tell who was my biggest influence bass wise, because I just listened to music a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Cody, I guess you liked all the music growing up, hearing it, right? Did let you know you were a bit younger, but I guess you enjoyed hearing what you
listened
heard.
to everything. I listened to it all. I grew up going to everything from Motley to Kiss to Aerosmith to everything. I went and saw Striper probably 10 years ago now with Brian. Well, 15 years ago now with Brian at the Casino Ballroom one last time. So I've seen it all. My influences, though, I got to go Lane Staley. Got to go Alice in Chains.
Okay. Oh, so do you sing?
I used to, back when Brian was still alive. He was teaching me. I played guitar and then I played drums, but as I grew older, I stopped.
Okay. Do you guys still play, or just, I guess, around the house for fun? Do you guys ever get together and jam just for the hell of it, or?
I'm not, unfortunately, not with Doug and Jamie, but if they were all in New Hampshire or if we were all wherever all together, I would be bugging them to get together and jam. But yeah, I still play. I've got a group of people up here that we get together every week. We played some parties and so, a handful of shows, but I keep the chops up. I still love it. It's the best hobby in the world.
Yeah, I had after the band split up, I didn't quit playing guitar, but I sort of dipped out of the being in band scene, and for the rest of the 90s pretty much. And then my girlfriend at the time, Katie, then we ended up getting married and we decided to move to Virginia because we had friends that had moved there first. And so I came to Virginia and I started, my day job is teaching guitar lessons at a store in Fredericksburg. And so then I got an opportunity to try out for a cover band in the area. And so I did that and got that gig. And then I've been playing in cover bands ever since. I made an instrumental guitar album it's called X Life. It was after in 2003, Katie, the wife at the time, was we were living in this apartment building, and Hurricane Isabel came through, and then a fire started in our building and burnt out our building. And then Katie decided that the fire was like a sign. She hadn't been happy and it was time to move on. So she left me like a couple of weeks later. So that's when it came up with the title X Life, because after that, everything else, I still had my job. I was doing 2 jobs at the time. I still had those, but everything else changed. So it's like, it's like an instrumental guitar thing, some Vi Satriani kind of deal. People can hear it on Spotify. They can hear it on, I guess, like Apple Music, Amazon.
Okay, that's just under your name. It's just under Doug Niles
on
Spotify. Okay.
Yeah, but Niles is, on the thing. Niles is my middle name.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day, I thought it was like a cooler rock name, so I went by my last name is Pinkham, so it's Doug Pinkham is my true name. I pulled a John Cougar Mellencamp kind of deal for a while there,
Well, no, because you didn't go back and forth on 10 different names. You just kind of stuck with one.
Well, yeah, no, me too. I went to Niles and then I went back to Pinkham. That was the only switches.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You guys,
and I'll just throw out 2.
Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt. But Matt had mentioned some work that he had done with Brian after the fact. I also had worked with Brian on a project where he had joined forces with a guitar player briefly from Boston who was kind of a Ritchie Blackmore, Yngwie Malmsteen type by the name of Joe Stump. And I think Joe had always been impressed by Brian and had not done anything besides instrumental at that time. So he pulled Brian in. They needed a drummer. Brian pulled me in. So Brian and I did do a record together after the fact. I think you can find it out there. It's called Light in the Sky. It's Joe Stump's Reign of Terror. But Brian and I and Joe and a bass player that was connected with Joe, we were together for one album. Brian and Joe, from a personality perspective, they were kind of oil and water. So one record was kind of enough there after a number of shows. So I wound up actually staying in that band for a couple of years. But in some instances, we did records with other vocalists, and then we also did instrumental stuff as well. But I was fortunate enough to do another project with Brian after the Sarvela days.
Yeah.
I had no idea you were a Joe Stump. That's badass.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I'm still learning stuff.
I had no idea that you and Brian. I've heard that stuff before. I'm like, that's kind of funny because I have heard that.
Yeah, that's for me. That was 90. So again, my Sarvela days are 91 to 94. My Joe Stump days were 95 to 98.
Okay.
And I am ashamed to say that since then I completely stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember back then.
I sold my kid about 7 or 8 years ago to a dad whose son was just passionate about playing, wanted a kit. Like, mine's just sitting here. It's a clothes hanger now. So kind of goes the way of the ellipticals and the treadmills in some instances, I suppose. But
cool.
Yeah, I remember back in the days with the Joe Stump, Jamie, Brian was calling me every week, telling me that he was working on Joe to kick the bass player out, so I could join up too. And he said, "I think I'm making progress. Just hang on."
The guy they had was, he was very difficult from a personality perspective. So I just stayed back and said, I just learned my stuff. I played the tracks and let them duke it out.
Could have told Joe, "Can you leave so Doug can come in?"
Yeah. You step aside too.
Sarvela at this point now.
But now we're Joe Stump though,
Yeah. But it's tough because both, Joe and Brian, from the way they had grown up and carved out their paths to that point, they were essentially larger than life personalities. Brian is, the leader of the band that is named after him, the primary songwriter, the voice. Now joining a band that was already formed, where the band he's joining already has a leader who's writing all that material and believes, or at least to that point, has been told, he's the reason that band exists. So, that's where it, became a challenge.
Okay. Do you know of any singers off the bat that Brian was really influenced by, or?
Tony Harnell is always one I think of, Doug.
Oh, you said, you're sorry. You said like the high pitch guys, like Jeff Tate. Sorry, I did ask that.
But specifically Tony. That was one band that we all enjoyed listening to together. Was TNT.
Great band.
And if they had something new coming out, that'd be probably the first thing we talked about when we got to practice.
Yeah. And Stryper too. He loved Michael Sweet. I remember being at a Stryper show at the Centrum, way up in the nosebleeds or something. Brian's in like the front row. So I'm hearing this major scream action going on. I look down and he's got the microphone in Brian's mouth and Brian's like screaming away, Mr. Centrum. And I think after the band, didn't Michael Sweet live in on the Cape for a while? And I think Brian went to visit him at one point. I remember him telling me that in the 90s.
Wow.
I've heard those stories. Hanging out with Michael.
We hung out with Michael Sweet. Remember John Oslin from WAAF? He was one of the DJs at WAAF. We hung out at his place multiple times with all the assorted musicians and people from the station. Brian just seemed to know everybody. I don't know how he weaseled his way into all this stuff, but he seemed like he knew everyone.
He had the gift of gab, man. He could just go into a room and just get cozy with people, get talking to people and get them to invite them into their conversations and things.
Cool. Someone asked, you ever play House of Blues in 93, Last Call Saloon or Living Room in Providence, Rhode Island? Play there.
We definitely played the House of Blues and we definitely played the Living Room. I can't remember about the other one.
I don't believe Last Call, no. But yeah, Rhode Island, we've done the Living Room. We did Babyhead.
The Strand.
a few
the
more.
Strand Theater, right?
Yeah, the Strand. Maybe even Lupo's.
I'm gonna ask, where was the best show or concert that you guys played?
Would it be the Great Woods show?
That's the one I remember. It was definitely the one for the memory book. To be, I'll say we did it. Like,
yeah, I mean, the only problem was we had about, I think, like 8 minutes because we were part of it. Was like a battle of the bands or something, and everybody it was kind of like it was a mini Live Aid to the extent that you had a slot. Yeah. So I think what we wound up doing is we took 3 songs and we did this mashup and we timed it to make sure we could squeeze it all in without being limited to just one full song or having to call it in the middle of the second song or something like that. That's probably the coolest thing that I can brag about from a show perspective. But as far as how well we played and how well it went off, I think when we talked about at the beginning, the original the shows at the channel would probably be the ones that I'm most proud of as far as how tight we were in the reaction we got.
Yeah, the channel was great. I thought some of our living room shows were great because they were always packed.
Yeah.
And we always sounded good there.
The Axis. We used to play the Axis on occasion. That would always get a big time crowd too.
Yep.
Rock Pile too.
The Rock Pile, yeah.
Yeah, we played the Rock Pile a lot.
And that place was great because when we had
used to drive me nuts about the Rock Pile was, they'd have bands that would go on every hour, and the headliner would go on at midnight, and you could not load out your equipment. It was a fire code issue or something. You couldn't load out your equipment until the last band was done. So you might go on at 9, you'd be done at 9:45, and you'd have to wait till like 1 o'clock in the morning before you could take your stuff out. Not as big a deal, I guess, when you're 21, 22, but in hindsight, I'm like, oh my gosh.
It was the same deal at the Axis. The Axis wouldn't let us out. And I can remember because Northeastern, we would only be in school for half of the year, and then we'd be co-op in the other half. And when I was co-op and I was in Connecticut, so I can remember playing shows at the Axis. They wouldn't let us load out until 1:30 or in the morning. And then I'd have to drive 2 hours back to Connecticut, sleep for an hour and a half, go to work, and then come back up for band practice the next day.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess even that Lizzie Borden one must have been pretty cool though too, right? Like, or did you guys even meet them, or was it just kind of like you went on stage, did your thing, and then, or did you guys get to actually like meet the band or any of that stuff? Or King's X, even those 2 shows?
I don't remember meeting the bands, no, because they would kind of not really come around until after the openers had sort of moved on.
Oh, okay.
That's how I recall it.
Okay.
Yeah, they'd often be in trailers or different things, and they'd be, kind of protected. But I think King's X was different. I feel like that I may have gotten to talk to Doug, and I don't know. I just remember him being really personable.
Okay.
And so that's probably the one instance I can think of.
The part I remember from those shows when we're opening for the bigger acts was after we'd get off stage and got our equipment situated, I'd always I was totally into the music scene, so I would be back out on the floor. I didn't want to miss a note of the headliner, and I'd have just strangers coming up to me going, "Oh, you were in that band that was on like right before you guys were awesome." They'd be talking, and like that was the coolest part about it. It's just people you never met before and you probably never saw again would just be chewing your ear off about I love that song, or your guitar player is great, your singer is great, whoever, there's just shooting the shit, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And for me, my biggest takeaway out of it is, realistically speaking, it was, no matter what, it was going to be a long shot for us to make it big. But when I look at, on a personal level, what I got out of those years, from the excitement, the fun, the thinking that you're living the dream, even if it may have been in really small increments, we really thought we were on our way, and there was no better feeling than, contributing to be part of that, doing it with these guys, and looking back on it, with a lot of pride.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you guys sound like you had fun along the way, even though if it was not how it turned out, how you wanted, it was still fun in the end, right? And you still have those memories with Brian. Yeah. I mean, you guys don't probably want to get into like what exactly happened there, but yeah, with Brian and his passing, or I don't know, like that's up to you guys. You don't always have to talk about that or any of that stuff. Or
yeah, I get Cody to probably know the most about that because he was the one that was with him in those later years.
Yeah,
I'd moved out of state by then, and we would talk occasionally on the phone, but not very much.
yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you about
I didn't see, I was just gonna say, I'm sorry. I did not see Brian for at least 10 years before he passed. I think I saw him in the early 2000s. I went up to New Hampshire. We actually went to a sports, like some kind of a sports banquet together.
Okay.
We met a number of local Boston celebrities. I think it was based on him maybe working at a radio station at the time or something where he had connections to get us tickets to go to this event. And that's probably it. We would talk on the phone every couple of months, but it was a massive shock to me when he had passed, because I was really out of the loop with what he had been going through of the time leading up to his passing.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, we had, I had been jamming with some guys up in Wyndham, and we were between singers. So I was talking to Brian, and I was like, Brian, why don't you come up and sing some? We'll have some fun. So he came up. We did a bunch of Skid Row and Bon Jovi and a bunch of 80s songs that he knew. The guitar player I'm playing with now is also played in the scene. He played with Misery City back in the day when Sarvela was happening. So he knew a bunch of the 80s songs. So we jammed a ton with Brian, and it was a blast, and like it was great catching up. And then 2 weeks later, I heard that he passed, and it was like totally out of the blue. Did not expect it.
Mm-hmm.
His death was very unexpected.
Yeah.
So Brian was fighting with a bad back his whole life.
Yeah.
So bad back was kicking his ass. Health was starting to catch up.
Yeah.
And we were playing music or something. We were just sitting there jamming in my living room at the time. Just sitting there playing. Everything was normal. And we went to bed that night, and Brian died in his sleep that night. He had clogged arteries. Just killed him in his sleep.
Yeah. Well, sorry you lost him at such a young age. Obviously, you guys have good memories of him, and it was a lot of fun reminiscing about the good days, I guess, jamming with him and remembering those good stories. And
yeah, that was definitely rough. My dad passed away in the same year. My grandfather passed away like roughly more or less all within about 15 months of each other. And Ryan was like my brother. We both, we both only had sisters, but I mean, him and I were like, we loved each other. We would fight like brothers sometimes, we would love each other like brothers. And, it was just an awesome, connection, family, brotherly connection with him over the years, even though we would butt heads sometimes, but that's what brothers and sisters do. Sometimes they butt heads.
Yeah. But you guys remain friends over the years. I mean, yeah, so that's good. It's just,
yeah,
like I guess it was great to like keep the music alive. At least we did that show where we played it all, and went over well. It was a lot of fun to do that. I like listening to all the stuff that I've never heard. It's cool to hear this stuff that doesn't get enough attention. And Brian was a phenomenal singer. You guys are great musicians. I love that stuff. So yeah.
It's funny. I find myself playing the riffs from the old Sarvela every now and then. I'm just sitting around with the guitar in my lap noodling, and I start playing one of the riffs, and I don't know why I haven't forgotten them yet, but it's just been ingrained in my head so deeply that they'll probably be there till the day I die.
Yeah, I do that with some of them too. And then I listen to, Jamie was always kind of he would always compile all the videos and everything. And he made this huge thing on YouTube, the Best of Sarvela, and it's got performances from I don't know how many different shows. Some of them you can't even really see. You can hear them but they're on old VHS camcorders or whatever. So the video is all wonky, but you can hear the music. And I remember some of these songs are like, wow, that song's awesome. I have forgotten about that one.
Yeah.
Like these songs that we'd written later and never got to record or anything. And
or some of the songs we only covered live, but we never maybe did once and forgot. And then you hear us playing it. It's like, I don't even remember doing that.
Yeah.
It's live, we must have.
Like Barracuda.
Yeah, we worked on one of my jobs in the band was to figure out the backing vocal harmonies for Matt and I. And so I've always been good at being able to sing like a third or a fifth above whatever the singer's singing, but getting to like lower notes would be tough for me sometimes just to pick up and grab just my voice. So what I used to do is I would learn Brian's vocal melody on guitar.
Okay.
And I would just build the triads around, and then I just assign myself and Matt each one of the other notes. So we'd get this cool 3-part harmony.
Cool.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite songs to play live? Do you have any favorites that you really like playing live? Your own songs or other like covers or whatever? Anything really?
I mean, tons of them, but like, you know, if we're talking about our time with Brian, I'd say we used to do Barracuda because Brian could like absolutely nail it. And I remember we were opening for a band once. I think it was the same club where Brian took his pants off. We were opening for this band who had nothing.
Amy's trying to forget that, and you're bringing it up again.
I know, right? Yeah. But no, we opened this band. They had a female singer, and I think her brother was the guitarist. And they had this rich father, lawyer father, or whatever. And they weren't even very good. And we were opening for them. Somehow they had, I don't know, purchased the night or whatever. And they rolled them in a limo and had guys in jumpsuits coming in, moving the crowd, you know, with walkie-talkies. We're gonna bring the band in, you know. And these, you know, I'd never even heard of these guys. I remember they did Barracuda, and they actually asked us. They asked Brian like if we could not do Barracuda because we did it so much better than they did it. And I figured Brian was just going to go like full Brian. Just kind of like,
might as well just light the fuse at that point.
Laugh directly in their face and like, you know, and say some quirky stuff. But he was actually very polite. And he said, well, look, you know, like we do this song a lot and our fans expect us to play it, you know? So he very calmly and politely said, yeah, we have to play it because our fans expect it. He was not the response I would have expected. I would have expected to get all cocky about it.
You guys get better at it, so we don't have to.
Yeah, so we did Barracuda. Yep.
That's cool. Yeah, that seems like it would be fun. Challenging to sing vocally too. The fact that he nailed that too, like that's hard stuff to sing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, wow. Cool. So any other memories you want to share of him that you haven't discussed yet, or any other cool stories? Or
I mean, of course, there's probably tons. It's hard to remember them all. I do remember one time we were flyering somewhere. I can't remember where we were. And so Brian, like he walks up to this one guy, tries to give him a flyer, and the guy goes, "Oh, I don't need one." Brian just goes, "Good." He turns and walks away. Good. And then I remember another time, I think it was the King's X show, you guys, where there was a mosh pit, and Brian ended up in the mosh pit, just like flinging dudes around, like these like younger kids. He's just grabbing them, just like flinging them like across the mosh pit floor. I forget why. I don't know if he was mad at him or what, but he just jumped into the mosh pit and was just like just slinging people around.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So one time, Brian and I were at the rock pile, just hanging out. Like we were drinking, having a good time. Definitely had far too much to drink. And all of a sudden, somehow Brian finagles his way up onto stage with a guitar player. I don't remember who he was with, but I think he might have been in Extreme before Nuno, and like it's like, you know, and like a random drummer and Brian, and he convinces me to go up, and we're just gonna jam like 4 or 5 tunes just for the fun of it. And like, meanwhile, I can barely stand up. I mean, he could barely stand up. I don't know. Like, I'm going, "Are you sure about this?" And like, none of us know the same songs. And he's like, yeah, it's gonna work out. We get up on stage, and I don't know how we got through it. You know, Brian just being Brian, he winged it, and you know, nailed all his parts, and the rest of us didn't fall off the stage, so that worked out. So, but it's like how he managed to make that happen, I have no idea.
That's kind of how we would write songs. You know, we would. They used to call me the riff master. So I'd come up with just like a riff, you know, and bring it into practice, and we'd jam on it. And then musically we'd work out the parts, and Brian would just like freestyle whatever vocal. He's more trying to get the vocal melody than what the actual lyrics would be. So he'd just sing whatever. And then eventually he'd write, you know, the lyrics that would stay, but he would just kind of like make up anything just to get the sound out and see what it was gonna sound like, and go from there.
Well,
yeah, but we used to write a lot of the songs like in together in practice.
You guys ever release that on CD or press vinyls of it, or was it simply on cassette?
It was just on cassette. And I remember you mentioned the pre-Nuno Extreme guy. He sang on one of our demos. Jamie, you can help me out with this. I forget which one, if it was the one before Powerful Pleasure, or I don't, it's like we were doing one of them, and this was kind of me. I kind of put my foot down because like our vocals were decent enough for live to hold notes, but we didn't really quite have the strong enough vocals to really pull it off and to have it be good enough in the studio. So Brian was going to sing the harmonies to himself. And I said, well, look, dude, you have to get at least one other person to sing on it, just because, so it's a different vocal tonality, you can do some of it yourself, but at least one other person that can sing one part, so you have a different sounding voice. And so that's the guy he got. So the Extreme original guitarist sings on one of our demos.
Wow.
I forget his name even, to be honest. I don't even remember who he is.
I can still picture him. I can't remember his name either.
This must be somebody you guys know. Cassie Care, did you guys have any group?
It's little Cassie.
Little Cassie. So,
hey, sweetheart.
So Cassie, when we've known her since she was jamming, Cassie had pure white hair, was 2 feet tall, and was innocent as hell. Like just a little kid that was hanging out with the band, wearing her earmuffs so she wouldn't get too loud and hearing damage.
Yeah.
And yesterday, earlier this week, I should say, she was at my work selling me Girl Scout cookies, and with what she got 3 kids now, 2 or 3, I can't remember.
Yeah, that's right.
Like made me feel old.
Indeed. Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, you can find pictures of her on our Facebooks of us either having her up on our shoulders or just like holding her up and whatever. Cody's mom Jen used to come to a lot of our shows, and they'd always bring Cassie and Cassie's mother Wendy, and would all come to the shows and stuff. And we were all great friends and stuff too. So
since she asked, I can tell it's a Brian story it's relatively clean. So I'll keep it clean. So we're in the studio doing the second round of demos. And Brian had this girl trying to convince him to go home with her. And he was like, I can't, I'm in the studio. And she was like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to stay home with my toys then. And Brian, being Brian, just says, well, if you show up with your toys, I guess I'll have to call it a day and pack it in early. And sure enough, she shows up at the studio in a trench coat, and Brian looks at me, Doug, and Jamie, and says, I gotta go. And the recording was over for the day.
Yeah. See, keep in mind that Brian had a really serious girlfriend for like a large portion of the band. And that eventually ended, and then he just kind of made up for lost time.
Yeah.
That point.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh boy, sure. Groupies are drama. They don't buy you beers or carry your equipment. Oh geez.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah.
We were the whole other side of us too. Like Brian and I lived also out in Los Angeles together. We both went to the same music school out there. This is before Matt and Jamie. This is before we formed the final, Matt and Jamie included band. And so we had Sarvela also out there in Hollywood. Okay. And we would play, we'd play like mostly we played the Troubadour because it was less expensive because you had to buy your slots out there. And we didn't, we were just little kids in music school, so we didn't have the money to buy the Roxy or the whiskey, but we could afford the Troubadour. So we would just buy tickets and we'd go play there. We play other places too, but that was the one like sort of Hollywood strip type club that we would do.
Yeah, and I found out years after joining the band that the bass player that was playing with Doug and Brian out in LA was a friend of mine from Connecticut.
Sean. Yeah, Sean,
right? Sean.
Shit.
Yeah, that I had no idea at all. He even knew Doug and Brian, let alone that I didn't know he had gone out to LA to play. I just know
he went to the school too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Musicians Institute. Yeah.
You guys have any upcoming musical projects? Anything that you're doing now? Or?
So the guys I've been jamming with we're playing a lot of local parties and stuff. We're still hunting for a full-time singer. Okay. When we find one, maybe we'll start booking some more shows. But the parties that we've been booking have been pretty big. So I'm encouraged that if we ever do book a show, we'll probably have some good attendance because the people that are coming to the parties, there's a lot of them. It's pretty packed.
Nice. Get Cody to sing for you. Come on.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, no, I'm not getting the
Yeah, and down here where I am, the singer I play for, Tyler Nichols is his name. Tyler Nichols Band. We do mostly cover band gigs, but he released an album, I guess like a couple months ago now, and so I'm told that in the coming year we'll continue to do lots of cover band, gigs like the 4 hours, 4 sets, whatever. But they'll also be doing some like some concert performances of his original material as well. So, and it's a pretty good album too. That's actually very good. A couple of songs are extremely good, and so it's awesome. And so that's kind of what I got going on. Plus, cover bands. Well, really just the one, but that's it.
Cool. No, Jamie, you said you're not really drumming anymore. You sold the drums, so I guess you got nothing musical coming up, right?
Just more of just a fan and a listener at this stage, but a lot of fun talking about the old days for sure.
Totally. Yeah, I love showing the videos to my, I teach guitar, so I have a lot of like teenage students and like, younger kids, and they always get a kick out of seeing, 23 or 25-year-old, whatever, 24-year-old Doug, compared to Doug now.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty humorous.
We still got all your hair.
My works cracks up when they see any old photos of the band. They can't figure out which one of the four of us is me.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I'm not that different.
Well, you guys at least still have,
right. Yeah.
Over hair. Like how the hell?
Yeah.
I think
I'm told that it's still
my change in the last 30 years is probably more dramatic. Where it's like everybody that knows me how I look now. So yeah, I we'll show that once in a great while, and it just like the jaws drop because they don't know A, what I look like, and B, that's even part of who I used to be and what I did. So it's a lot of fun.
That's cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, especially in that business, a lot of people wouldn't believe that you were like a rock band, right? Or
yeah, I work for a financial services institution. It's not a suit and tie every day, but it's that's kind of the mindset.
It's just kind of funny helping someone.
Rocker.
By the way, I was better than. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm ready to work here until I die.
Yeah. Funny.
But Sidney, this has just been great. It's really exciting, that you found Brian, even though we kind of snuck in the back door with the Vermont connection, but we'll take it.
Yeah. I know. I picked it for the state of Vermont because it said like.
Well, I mean, if you did Massachusetts, I'm not sure we would have been probably piled in with too many other, competing options. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe we could. I don't know, Cody, if you could do a part 2 with the other lineup, maybe if they would want to talk about him too. Like I don't know if he stayed friends with those guys as well. I don't know. Like if that's.
Which ones are hard to get in touch with? I talked to them like right as he died. And after that, I haven't heard from anyone.
Yeah.
These 3, though, I was able to get you these 3 pretty quick. A lot quicker than I expected, actually.
Willing to do this. That's pretty cool.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys joined. I do appreciate it. This has been fun.
It's been a lot of fun,
cool.
for sure.
Now we just need to get back together because it's been a while since we've done that. I haven't seen you in like 25 years, Doug.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna have to work on that. Yeah, Matt. There's no way I would have time to. There just wasn't.
I saw your message.
Yeah,
it's tough with the holidays, but we got to find some time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys all live near each other, right? You guys still live close to each other?
Well, I'm in Virginia.
Yeah, you're in Virginia.
Not that close, but
yeah.
And I'm in Rhode Island, Matt's in New Hampshire. Matt and I have seen each other, and Cody as well, probably 2 or 3 times in the last 10 years. It's a little bit easier for us. The distance for me to drive to these guys, 2 to 3 hours, I guess, probably.
Yeah.
Matt, where in New Hampshire are you?
I'm in Derry, so just barely over the border.
Yeah, you're about 30 minutes from me because I'm up in Salisbury. 20 past Concord.
Okay.
My dad's got a cousin whose wife, she's from New Hampshire, so he moved there. So he lived. I have no clue where. I've never been there, so I don't know where in New Hampshire exactly he lives. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. I was talking to Cody, and he was telling me that, so that was found that kind of interesting. Like you guys are in New Hampshire, and I got a cousin there, so who knew? But yeah, awesome. Yeah, it was fun having you guys on here to reminisce about Brian. I don't know what the hell happened with the audio earlier. I'll try to lead us out with that song again and see if it Well, encourage people to go back and watch the show we already did on that, so you can go hear it again. And the link to the original YouTube audio is I'll put that in the description as well. I'll put the all 3 songs in there for that in the description of this as well.
Sidney, you found the full album on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it was
I
already.
found the full album this morning. I didn't even know it was on there.
Oh, okay. None of you guys uploaded. I don't even know who would have uploaded that.
Some random name,
Yeah,
I think.
There's definitely some stuff on YouTube that I don't know how it got there, but it's cool when I find it.
Yeah, because I figured someone like with connections with the band had like a cassette and like put that on there. Just someone had it and just uploaded it. So,
Jamie has a bunch of cool stuff. Jamie's the only one that I know that has all the good stuff.
I have a wealth of inventory, not just the stuff we recorded, but I have all of the times that we did radio interviews. I have the radio commercials for the shows. So I'll have to dig that stuff out, and maybe I can upload it and send links to you, Sidney. You can share it, as part of the show notes.
All right, cool.
So, but I've actually got to jump. But this has been wonderful. Appreciate the opportunity to get us all back together. So
yeah, that's good.
All right. I'll leave you guys if you want to keep chatting. Take care. We'll definitely message on the side.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care, buddy.
Sounds good, Jamie.
All right. See you later, Jamie.
Yeah, that's what's the best about this, right? Getting you guys together again, talking on here, and you guys don't get to see each other much, right? Because you're kind of spread out. So.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, not much at all.
Yeah.
Or nearly none for Doug. Like
yeah. Further away than the rest of y'all.
Yeah. You're not exactly on my commute to work.
Just stop by Virginia on the way to work.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was 5 hours late.
The show.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, it was great having you guys on talking about Brian.
Yeah, it's been
these stories. But I like doing this. Like I mean, as fun as it is, like I guess talking to like some of these big, huge, mega superstar. I enjoy this is way better because you get to like hear like real stories, and you guys are like just real people, and there's none of that ego nonsense that comes with some of these huge bands, right? Like you get to hear like some cool story, like the opening for Lizzie Borden and Brian pulling you guys' pants down and fun stuff like that, right? That not too many people are gonna go and share on the air. So, but yeah, it's always cool to do this and give attention to bands that didn't get their due, and so at least people can go and check out the music. It's there on YouTube. I'll put the songs again in the description for this as well. I mean, I could put the second album, but that's not you guys. I guess I don't know. I'll just put the first one, I guess, in the description of this. The other one is in the other video where I reacted to both. So, but he also did like the Xanister stuff, right? Too. He was in that band.
And that was after we all broke up. I don't Cody, do you remember when Xanister happened? Was that the last band, or?
I want to say that was the last band before he brought back Sarvela, the second version.
Okay.
Xanister, for some reason, they got big over in Brazil and overseas. He was always telling me the story of how huge they were overseas.
Yeah, there was
I don't remember if they ever went and played.
Yeah, there was a guy in here earlier from Brazil that was like commenting about Xanister.
Yeah, they were huge. You'd always get like $1.25 checks randomly from Brazil showing up in the mail.
Weird.
They're laughing, thinking it was the funniest thing in the world. He's like, I don't understand how, but
that's really weird. Yeah,
I remember getting a couple of checks from the Sarvela demo because after we broke up, we had all these demos that we had were shopping around, and I don't know what Brian was doing with them, but out of the blue, he calls us up and he says, "Hey, this record company from Japan wants to release this as an album." So he was trying to figure out which songs we were involved in the writing on, so we could get all the writing credits correct. And so he went through all that, and it must have gotten released at some point because I did see some checks. I did see it available on shopping around randomly on Amazon. I actually saw that you could buy it from a record company in Denmark. So it was somewhere. But it was funny, and Brian was, calling me up. I assume he called Doug and Jamie, and he's like, "Let's put the band back together and go tour Japan." And by then, we had all kind of moved on. And said no.
I had that thought some years ago, but then Brian started getting really sick at that point. I guess it's not going to work without him. He must do something else. But
Yeah.
I guess Jamie couldn't since he stopped playing, but
that would have been a blast. That's probably the one thing I regret was saying no to that, because that would have been a fun tour.
Yeah. Because I don't know about you, Matt, but I feel like I'm such a better musician now than I was in those years. Just from the years of experience. Since
I am too, and I have a lot better gear.
Totally, yeah.
Now I can afford the real instruments. Although I still have the same
better studio too.
Right.
And a really more, a better recording.
I still have the same bass head is on my back line for one of my rehearsal rigs that Sarvela was using back in the days, and that head has had so many beers spilled on it. I don't know how it still works, but I think it's bulletproof.
I still have some speakers from you guys. I still have like the old Sarvela practice speakers, the big 17-inch sub.
Oh yeah, from that.
They ended up with me. I was like, all right, what the hell do I do with them now? I put them to use. They're just
What gear did you guys use?
Cool.
Yeah, what was some of the gear that you guys used? Like, what kind of guitars did you like to play, Doug? And what kind of bass play?
Well, I'm a Jackson Charvel man. So I still play Jacksons and Charvels. I had mainly Jacksons in our Sarvela days. I just had those guitars, and actually recently, within the last few years, because those guitars I used to play in all of our gigs were the ones that got really damaged in that fire that I was in. So for decades, for like almost 20 years, they just were expensive wall hangings at that point. But I found a guy down here in my area, in Virginia, that can restore anything and put anything back together. And so it wasn't cheap to do, but all three of those guitars are back in service again. So that's pretty exciting. And I used to use Marshalls back in the day, in the Sarvela days. So I had a Marshall half stack JCM 800 head. I think Matt had one of those too. I remember using it.
I still do.
Like a rehearsal or something.
The tubes are blown on it. I need to get it repaired, but I still have it.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I've still got the bass I played when Sarvela was big. We played that so much I was looking at it last month, and there's grooves from the strings and the frets. Like, it's ridiculous how worn out that bass is. I don't know how it still plays and stays in tune.
Yeah, you get the fret divots for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys should, like, if next time you guys get together or see each other, you guys got to jam. Hopefully that inspires you to do that. Maybe, I don't know, but get Jamie to pick up the drums again.
Yeah, Jamie was always so practical, like it's got to the point where as soon as drums weren't working for him, he pivoted to something that was going to work for him. Like the rest of us are, I'm going to keep playing guitar no matter if I'm in a band or not, but he was the type of guy that would, you hear him talk and stuff. He's just it's not okay. All right. This avenue has sort of hit a dead end. So now I'm going to go do, this career or this job, and he pivot right to that. And whatever he does, he's going to be successful in, because he was always a, super smart guy and a super hard worker.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult to just find the time to even make time for a hobby like that, right? When you're working all the time. Yeah.
Yep.
Plus it's noisy. You can't exactly sit there playing drums in your house in the middle of
the
day.
That's a tough one to practice, for sure.
You sort of get away with it on guitar, but drums not so much. But
yeah.
No, I'm really glad I found the guys that I'm jamming with now, because I didn't realize how much I needed to be playing music until I had a bit of a break, and I seriously missed it.
Yeah.
So being able to find some guys that I can jam with and have fun, and it's the group I'm with now. It's back to like being in a family. All the guys like really get along. We hang out. Sometimes we get together at band practice, and we just don't play. We just end up talking and shooting the shit or shopping for music gear or whatever, and it doesn't matter. But then there's other days where we play for 4 hours straight and our fingers hurt. So it's
like a Manowar concert. You do like 5 hours or something.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Blood all over everything.
Yeah. I mean, someone suggested you could do like a band camp and do merchandise, but I think band camp takes most of the percentage on that anyways.
Yeah.
It's not really worth, I don't know. But yeah. Is the Sarvela stuff you said that was on no, it was not on Spotify, was it? It was You said there was something else that was on Spotify. Your solo stuff, right?
My solo record, yeah. It's called X Life.
Right, X Life. Okay.
Yep.
Anything else by Brian? I guess Xanister would probably.
Xanister's on YouTube, and I think it's on Spotify.
Okay.
I know Joe Stump is on YouTube, maybe Spotify.
Yeah. Half the time
His solo stuff is on SoundCloud. He had solo stuff on SoundCloud that he was doing at the end, but SoundCloud was the only thing we found at that point. And after he died, I have no interest in even touching it to put it anywhere.
Yeah. Half the time the musician.
I'm like, I don't even. It's not worth it to me to like extract it and put it on a whole other app. It's going into stuff I think I can get into anymore.
Yeah, and it's again, like even Spotify, it's like you get like 0.5 cent per stream. It's like, well, and then they take the rest.
Next to nothing.
It's like you have to have like a ridiculous, like unrealistic, like 4 million streams to even really start making money. It's stupid.
Yeah. I used to get, I'd get like an email, and it would say, yeah, you earned 3 cents on Spotify for listening of your album.
But can you even cash that? Like it's like 3 cents. Like what? Like I don't know.
Really, it was just an email that said I made money. I never saw the 3 cents, and never found its way to me anyhow.
I don't remember back I'm here for my 3 cents. They would just look at you and be like, what?
I guess it's like maybe it has to get to a certain amount before they give it to you. I'm not sure.
Weird.
I did get some checks, selling. So I have, a bunch of CDs. I had them pressed into CDs too. So I've gotten a few checks from just those selling from through the company called Disc Makers that did all the pressing of the CDs, and they do a lot of they'll put your stuff online and everything too. And but yeah, we used to call that like mailbox money. You just get a check for $30 or something. Like, I'm a rock star now. I am rolling into cash.
Do a Vinnie Vincent. Put your sing songs out there for $200 each.
Yeah, right.
That's the spirit. Yeah, but no, it was a lot of fun having you guys on here, and
it's been a blast. Yeah, definitely. I've been really sick, so I'm actually glad I was able to speak normally and not hack up a lung on you.
Okay,
that's good.
Yeah. I'd like to thank Cody for putting this together. I was talking to him, and then he reached out to Jamie for me, and I was kind of emailing Jamie back and forth, and I guess he reached out to you guys like in your group chats or whatever, and had this arranged. So it was fun to put this together. And I don't know what the hell happened with the audio early. I don't know. Was it really that bad? Was it cutting in and out? Because I got a new setup now. So
it was kind of warble,
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't cut out for me, but it wasn't like it full.
Okay.
Full presentation.
Okay. But go check it out on YouTube. It's on there. I'll post the link to all 3 songs. I'll post them in the description of this so people can listen to it through there actually, and get the original quality of it. But so thanks everybody for watching. I'd like
great to see all you guys, Matt.
Doug, Greg, and Jamie, who was here earlier. I'd like to thank all you guys for doing this, and it's great to honor Brian in this way and share some stories about him. So So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow. We're doing like a request show where people are sending in requests of music for us to play. So try to get the audio fixed for that tomorrow. So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Cool. Peace. Thanks everybody.